That's okay. Actually, I might need your help to pin different ones because as you may notice, there are three of me on Zoom. So, a triplicity, as George Spencer Brown says.
Sure.
Um, and actually, that just brings me to this edition of Laws of Form. If I know some of you may have this one. It has a Mobius strip on the cover, and it's the Cognizer Company 1994 edition of Laws of Form, which if you don't know already, his various editions of Laws of Form have different prefaces, and they do differ in content slightly, which in the number theory work with the Jim Flagg and Lou Kaufman, we are making note of various um, differences in the Baumeier edition and in the Capcom work and in the German, the international edition. So anyway, I'm referencing this edition because in the preface to the 1994 American edition, um, he does mention this word Tarati, and he talks about Tarati in this context. He says, if you wish to join the brotherhood and sisterhood of my teaching, please make yourself known and let's organize it. And there's a footnote with his contact information. And the next sentence says, what you will join is a siblinghood called Tarati. And so this is kind of interesting because, in the first conference, so just to start with, Tarati is a board game that was developed by Spencer Brown. And he, it's a game for two people, and it is kind of like chess, but it's much simpler. And actually, it can be for more than two people as well. And in the Laws of Form 50 conference, thanks to Graham and Andrew Crompton, we were able to see these physical Tarati boards. And I'm going to show you a picture of that later. They have alternate black and white squares. However, the alternating black and white squares are not important. So this presentation is really trying to present this game in the simplest way possible so anyone can play it and make the game by themselves. I also made it from scratch. I printed out the board. You can draw it on a piece of paper. You can use coins as pieces. So I'm just gonna show you some of these things, and I'm gonna switch over to another camera. So Randy, I'll need your help on that. I'm just gonna un. So if you can see this other camera that has the board on it, okay, cool. Nice. So can you make that much bigger? So just I people don't need to see my face. Yeah, perfect. And I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but I hope you can.
Yeah.
Cool. So this is really the essentially the board that is the Tarati board. If you have a piece of paper, you can draw this. I hope the framing is okay. And if for people who've played chess, they label there's a notation for recording moves in the game. Like, you omit the label for the pawn and you just say like the letter of the square that the pawn is traveling to, and you reference where it's coming from as well. So in this case, as you can see, Spencer Brown has provided labels for the Tarati board. And this is what the Tarati board looks like without the alternating black and white squares, which I will show you again later. Um, Now, what I did want to talk about is just to real quick talk about what these letters mean or stand for. So A is the absolute center, what he calls the absolute center. So there's just one point here that's called the A1. B they're all the bridge points. So he calls them B for bridge, C for circumference. So you see them, they're going just serially from 1 through 12. And then D are the domestic points. So A, B, C, and D. And for those of us who have played Tarati, we may not know the actual labeling of this. So I just want to briefly introduce, we're not going to go into notating a whole game in this talk. We could, but I don't think that would be the best use of time here. So if you wanted to take a picture of this or kind of like, write it down or something, I can give you a few and just kind of uh, sort of repeat that that's the absolute center A, and then you have the bridge points B, the circumference C, and then the domestic points D. So, and then I'm just gonna just jump right into a game. So I'm gonna move this board away, and I'm just gonna go to a slightly, I printed out slightly bigger. So, yeah, and I just want to show you the pieces that are there in the game. So there are two sides, they're opposing each other. And we have one side is white. Each of these pieces are just tokens like circles like this, coins, or and then they have two sides. So there's a one side that's white and there's one side that's black. So I'm just going to set up the initial position. This is the initial position for any Tarati game. And you can make these coin thing, like literally I've used coins before and I've taken a marker and marked the other side black. What I did was I really thought about, okay, how do we make these pieces? And I went ahead and bought this. It's just these are just like poker chips. These are very thin poker chips. They're white in color and black in color. And I glued them. So these are really two poker chips that are glued. One is glued and the other side, sorry if you can't see that. Okay. So one side is one poker chip, the other side is another poker chip. I just glued them. So it's pretty neat, actually. I like it a lot. It worked out pretty well, I think. And I've made different iterations of this game that I think this one seems the cleanest to me so far. And the next thing type of these pieces are called COB, cob. They're called cobs, and they're kind of equivalent to pawns in chess. So we'll see how they move in a moment. And both of these are cobs. So each player starts with four cobs. The white starts with four, black starts with four, white begins. Very similar to chess in that way. And then the other piece is a rock, ROC. And this is basically just a circle, a white circle in a black, on the black cob. And then for the white side, it's the same but inverted. And these when they flip, they look like that too. So you'd see very quickly what this game is really doing. But this is like the queen in chess. So the whole point is these cobs, like pawns, they're gonna move forward, and they can only move forward. They can't move sideways. They only move forward till they reach the opponent's home domestic territory, and then they can promote the piece to so let's say this white piece were to, take a path going down, down, and then they reach here, then they promote to the rock, ROC. So that's essentially the aim of the game is to either force your opponent to a stalemate or capture all of the pieces. And we're going to see how pieces are captured. So does anyone have any questions so far before I jump into anything else? Can you hear me okay? Can you see things okay?
Yeah,
Yep,
everything
so
looks good. I think
perfect.
we'll wait.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to show you one very basic thing that is the basic rule of Tarati. So, white starts, of course, and So this goes one after the other. And if I'm going too fast, please let me know. Or if my camera is hanging or something. So then white to play, let's say I'm just going to play very aggressive here. So start there, go straight in the middle. And then let's say black also goes here. So what happens is once one cob is in any play position that's adjacent to the opponent piece, let's say, so white is moving from here to here, then it flips the opponent, it captures the opponent piece. Does that make any sense? So I'm
Yes.
just gonna redo that part again. So in this move, white moves to a position that's adjacent to the opponent piece, and that flips. That's pretty much the point of the whole game. So you want to come to a position that's adjacent. So black can only move forward, black cannot move backward, black cannot move sideways. So if black moves here, then it captures both of these pieces. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And then if white moves here, then it captures only these two because that's where they're adjacent, right? And then, so that's basically the premise. And then let's say black, let's see, I'm just playing it, let's say black moves here. Then it captures this. Now, let's say white moves here. It captures both of these. And then black moves here. Um, White moves, no, that's a bad move, but I don't know. Let's say white moves here, right? Now, this is actually great because this is another kind of like an en passant rule in chess. It's sort of like a special case, kind of you treat it separately. So I try not to like introduce it too early, but since it's already come up in this game, there is an exception to the rule of moving sideways, which is at the home base, at the domestic part. So in this case, black can move sideways, but only to capture the opponent's piece. So if it's under attack, and if you're under attack and you're in the home base, then you can move sideways to capture a piece. So let's see, I do that, right? So it looks fine. Now it's white's turn. So white's gonna move up here, and then it captures this here. And now we're gonna promote this piece, right? Is this going too fast
No,
or
I think we're okay.
okay. Okay, cool. So you can see it's getting kind of interesting. Um, Now it's black's turn. So what does black do here? This is tricky. So let's say black moves up here. I guess there are two options, right? So either black can move, this piece can move forward only, so it can only move here or here. And then this piece can move sideways, but it cannot move sideways because it's not capturing anything, so it's stuck. Really, you can't do anything with this piece. So let's say I move here, and then I capture these two pieces. Now it's white's turn. So white can now, this piece can move in any direction. So I failed to mention that. But the special thing about this piece, like the queen in chess, it can move in any direction, forwards, backwards, sideways. That's the only difference between these two pieces. This piece is currently stuck. It can't move anywhere. It has to uh, just wait. It's basically stuck. This piece can move anywhere. These two pieces, of course, can move forward. And then this piece is stuck. So let's say white goes here, captures these two. Now, that was not a very great move by white because black is going to go up here and then capture this. So this is the beauty of like this game. So you noticed how black was losing basically the game. Like white had come all the way here into home base, captured most of its pieces. I wish I could go back in time to show you that, but if you remember that, white has come all the way, promoted a rock, a queen, and now the tables have turned, you know, momentarily, because you see like there are four white cobs and then three cobs in one rock. But, of course, the game changes like this. You could be in a winning position and then due to one mistake, supposed mistake, the whole game can just switch on itself, and that's why it makes it such a fun game to play. And yes, there are strategies, there are openings like in chess, but we're not going to get into that. And there is a bit of material that Spencer Brown has left behind. Thanks to Andrew Graham, we were able to see it at Laws of Form 50, and he's shared this with some of his students, and Spencer Brown has, and Lou has some material too. So it's really, there is some strategy here. Um, so anyway, we'll just continue this game. White moves forward here because white obviously doesn't want to lose the piece, the rock. So now again, black is not in a great position, but it's in home base, so it's gonna do this, which is actually not a great move, but that's the only move that anyway. So I'm not gonna think too much. Maybe do like a rapid game. So now white would want to move here, or white could do anything really, but white maybe wants to move here. And then I'm going to promote this. And I also convert this because white just moved here. So, wow, black is really not doing well. And now black only has two options to move, either here or here, right? Sorry, either of these two, because it can't move sideways, remember? So, and there's no point to, I mean, it would have helped to move sideways, to be honest, in this case, but you can't help it. So let's say it moves here, and then white just moves up there. And then, so that's white wins. And that's like in this game, instead of saying mate, like checkmate, as in chess, Spencer Brown uses the word mit, MIT, mit. So anyway, that's the game. And um, does anyone have any questions? I would love to play a game with one of you in the room if we can like set it up again. How does that
That would
sound?
be that would be great. Can I ask a real quick question? And by the
Absolutely.
way, like you still have a couple minutes to the
10
5 minute
minutes.
warning
Yeah.
for your like
Yeah.
speech segment or whatever, and then
Yeah.
and still another five till for Q&A because you have till 10 after total.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, if you're opening it up before someone wants to play, I just
Yeah.
wonder, I have a little question. Is it
Yes.
possible to get all the way to the far side of the opponent's domestic square?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Would you
Like
want
you
to
could,
do that? Why would that be good or whatever?
well, so these pieces are very powerful, as you can tell.
Yeah,
So the
right.
more number of pieces you've promoted to get this, there's always going to be just eight, 4 + 4, 8 pieces on the board, right? Because you're not creating new pieces, you're just like changing one to the other, and then you're promoting the type of piece
Right.
from
Okay.
this to this. So, you want, as a player, you want to promote this because it's so super powerful, right? You don't want to get stuck, if there's a traffic jam and it just gets stuck, and then you're in this pointless. You can't really do anything with that, but you can move backwards and sideways, and you can capture pieces, and it's very powerful piece. So you want to like promote to this piece as soon as possible in the game.
Right.
Um, and the more number of these pieces you have, generally speaking, the higher chances of you winning. Um, And there's it's very interesting to think about this in relation to like calf palm and parody, because when his writings on Tarati, he, as you can see, this looks like you know it's a map, right? It's a map, and what's the valency of this map? Like it's this is trivalent. There's four here. There's one, two, three, four, five, six here. So I mean, it's interesting. I feel like he's thinking about map, calf palm, or he may have been thinking about calf palm when he came up with this. Because he does talk about parity and odd and even, and like he's trying to like establish some game tactics and hints on how to play and sort of studying positions and things like that. So I hope that answers your question. Like you do want to bring all these pieces over there to promote them, or wait for the opponent to bring all their pieces to your side and then convert all of them and then
Okay, and
promote yours as
Florian
well.
has a quick oh, and
Yeah.
this is a 5 minute warning, but I don't know.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
meaning.
Yep.
I mean, one other thing this kind of reminds me of cellular automata, right? So
Yes.
is it also possible here that you get to a state where you have kind of an infinite state where you have just forms that kind of emanate or like that grow on the board and in like an infinite system, dynamic state that just
So,
repeat?
there is a dynamic state where it also in Go, the game of Go, this happens. I'm not an expert in Go in any way, or but I do know that there are recurring like forms that can happen, and that also happens in chess, but not less so in professional games, but where you are kind of stuck in a loop. So, if you and the opponent are stuck, you're playing a very intense game, and you basically start. This especially happens with when these types of pieces are on the board because you can move backwards. So it's like, let's say uh, I move here and that converts it to white, but then it basically resettles itself. Like the game resets itself to this exact same position it was two moves ago, and so you kind of like are in a stalemate. Essentially, no one's going to win. Someone has to change, but if they change, they're going to lose because they know that that's what's good. That's what the game is going to do. So maybe that answers your question in some way, that it is an infinite game in that like no one's really winning or losing, but they're just like kind of stuck in a loop. And that can happen in chess too. That can happen less. I mean, it would be like kind of a pointless thing to do in chess, but sometimes that's strategic and you want to draw. So, and the opponent will know that. So, anyway, that's a really interesting question to think about, like cellular automata. I did also want to uh, open the floor to questions, but I also wanted to really quickly share my third screen if you want to help with that, Andy.
Yeah, let me do that.
Classic.
It looks
Um,
like a weird double tree of Sephiroth, you know?
this whole graph, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, like it's
Yes,
ending
absolutely.
in four. It would end in one, but there'd only be one side of it, so it's like a doubling of it.
Yeah.
Looking for your oh, it's sharing.
Okay. Do you see it?
Yeah.
All right. So that's the board that we've seen in Laws of Form 50, thanks to Andrew Crompton and Graham, and um, that there are like, I don't know how many of them, but I think, I know a few of us have these boards. I wasn't able to get a physical board, but Andrew did scan the board and also scan the game pieces. These are what the game pieces look like. And so anyway, I tried to originally wanted to do this presentation on this uh, Illustrator, kind of just like move it like that, um, and I'm still kind of working out the kinks of it, but really, you know, this is what it looks like. It looks really pretty. Um, and I think this was in collaboration with Bowmeyer, Johanna Bowmeyer, that GSP made this board, or I think the copyright sort of is still in their estate, so we can't really like go up and running and like sell the game or like start, but you can still like make it on a piece of paper use coins and poker chips or whatever. But as you can was I was what I was saying earlier, like the board, this black and white stuff, like the black and white squares, the triangular squares, the colors of those don't really matter, you know, as they do in chess with the bishop and other pieces. So it's really what matters are the nodes, the nodes that you see in the other board that I've been showing, the physical board. So anyway, that's all I wanted to share today. And I don't think we have time for a game, but we could do a rapid game if somebody wants to. I do want to hear from the floor if there's any questions though.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do a little couple minutes of game or whatever, like I think that's cool if you're really into it. But also,
Yeah.
we do have now an official like 5 minutes for questions. Lou has a quick question here,
Yes. Yeah.
and I just real
Definitely.
quick want to thank you. So let's wait. Oh wait, no, after the Q&A. No, before. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And
And
I'm
so
so sorry I'm unable to be there in person. I
yeah, we
really
miss
miss
you.
you all. I could see so many familiar happy faces there. So yeah. Yes, Lou.
So I want to present, I don't know if this mic is working. Before
Yes.
2 years are out, I want to present the following challenge to whoever will take it up. There
Yeah.
should be a machine learning program that will learn Tarati and become the world's best player of Tarati before our next Laws of Form meeting.
That's great.
Also intrigued by how there's like a cube, like a Necker cube in the middle, sort of, or maybe not a Necker one, but and here's Mark.
Thanks, Sahu. That's really very interesting. A number of us, myself, Andrew, Philip, have been musing on the possibility of creating some practical version of the glass bead game.
Yeah.
And we look at these things and we think, right, okay, so could this be it? Could this be that very deep spiritual experience that Hermann Hesse describes?
Mm.
I think when I look at what you've just done, it looks to me like a field which is constructed with emerging constraints, and then obviously there's choice in the player to sort of how to move through those constraints, which might be a little bit like a sort of musical journey in some way, the kind of glass bead game. I don't know, what are your thoughts about this? And do you think this is a step towards that kind of thing?
That's really fascinating. I feel like there's an essay there to write. I think, yeah, I feel like there's so many things that this game like kind of conjures up, and you can relate to. I do feel like music would be a very interesting place to go. I do remember kind of, like just thinking about it in realm of philosophy as well as like, just this notion of game, which I think like is very prominent in the conference this year. Um, and I think it would be a very fascinating uh essay or article to read. If you do end up writing it, let me know. I would love to read it. And yeah, I mean, just thinking about like Indra's net, like the Indian god Indra,
Yeah.
like and like there's just, I'm sure we can have more conversations about this afterwards and talk about it. But I definitely do see links to CAFPOM, like CAFPOM as in the cast information properties of maps, like Appendix 5, the map theorem. With Spencer Brown's work, there's a lot of laws of form like elements there, even these game pieces, like one piece sort of crossing over and then becoming that, there's something interesting going on. Like, same thing with this crossing over here. So I think it's a very clever game. I mean, it's just so simple and beautiful. And, it's really stripped down to like you can learn it in a few minutes. And then, my housemate and I, back when I was in Chicago, we used to play this like all the time, all just play all the time. And it was just so much fun. And it's very addictive. So Yes, I don't know if I answered your question entirely, so sorry if I rambled a little bit, but yeah, it's very fascinating. Thank you for that insight. I didn't make that connection. The bead game.
And here's a question from Adam.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
So you mentioned that there is a copyright on the game. In what
yeah.
sense would I be able to create a web app, and train an AI on it and have it, as Lou mentioned, allow you to play the game against the computer? Would I need licensing? Would this maybe be possible through Laws of Phone Society?
Yeah,
Um,
so that's a great question. I mean, I think that's also like a bigger, maybe slightly controversial question, but the Spencer Brown Society is, definitely working on getting making sure like Spencer Brown's material is really preserved to a level that, people can use it and not misuse it. I don't know how people misuse it, but it is what it
I'll
is.
note on that point that this game is described in a patent application from 1970 something, which is now
Exactly.
expired. So you may
Yes,
recreate
it
it
has
from
been
that, and
expired.
so that you
And,
can
and,
recreate
and
it from that.
he did also copyright, I think in 1994 or something. That's the same time as that the Cognizer. So he copyrighted it twice, and yes, you're right. The first one is in 70s, and then the other one's in 90s. And I think it would make more sense, because I know that like currently the copyright. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about this too
Yeah,
much,
I agree. I mean, I have a burning
I don't
desire
want
to
to
make
like.
this come out there,
But yes,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's honestly, it feels natural and okay to use the game and like promote it, and as long as it's sort of referencing that it came from Spencer Brown and like links to laws of form, and I feel like that's the really the good faith thing here. But again, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know
Right.
if it really if the copyright does lie with somebody, and we don't know. So
Okay, and
I
and
feel
here's
like, yep, go ahead.
yeah, here's Andrew and then Graham, and then I think that'll be all the time.
Okay, yeah.
For those of you who haven't read the first chapter of Hermann Hesse's book, The Glass Bead Game, he predicts that the game will begin simultaneously in Germany
Mm,
and in England, and it comes out of people thinking about music and form and a society called the Journeyers to the East simultaneously come together in a very spooky way to make a game. But what will it be?
wow,
Who? Answer that question.
wow. My mind is blown.
And Graham.
Hi, Sahu. How you doing?
Hi.
Thank
Good,
you
good.
for
How
the
are
talk.
you? Yeah.
I played a few games of this with Spencer Brown. I managed to lose them all, but he was a lot more experienced player, even though he'd only played himself, I think, than I was.
Yeah.
For pieces, he used reversi or Othello playing pieces,
Right.
and you just flip them over.
Yeah.
As regards to the copyright, I think that expires in 2086. 70,
Okay, wow.
yeah, 70 years. But I'm no lawyer. I'm not a copyright lawyer. But I think the copyright expires 70 years after the death of the author. The copyright currently is with Thomas Wolfe.
Okay.
I did have something else to say as well. I've forgotten what it was now. But yeah, that's the copyright of that is with Thomas. I've sent Johanna a number of emails over the last 2 years, and she's not replied to any of them. So I don't know the position there. But I did ask her a few months ago, probably 2 or 3 months ago, just to reply, just to let me know that she's okay, and I've heard nothing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for your
Yeah, of course,
talk,
of course. Thank you, Graham.
All right, well, that's the time that we have. So let's clap again for Saha.